let's talk about what actually stopped Project MPR in its tracks. What do we all think about the official remaster by Nintendo?
Man, they took the wind out of our sail, but
Yeah.
it was a good it was not I'm sorry, it's not just a good remaster. It's a standard that I expect to see Nintendo apply to any dormant IP that they wish to bring back to life. Because they outdid themselves with this. And it was Shadow Drop, no less. This was a quality remastered, and it's something that kind of motivates me to like push the envelope if we ever do come into Prime 2 or any other project down the road. I'm so mixed about it. On one hand, it's like they took everything from us, but on the other hand, Metroid's the gift that keeps on giving. So I don't know.
I remember telling Ray, it felt like you were being told that you won the lottery while you were at your mother's funeral. Like it was like right. It was both exciting and
great
depressing.
Analogy.
You know, like at the exact same time, and so for me, it took a long time actually to really even quantify how I felt about it, because it was just so out of left field. I think, we've heard the rumors the whole time, and it just never felt like it was ever really going to be real. And so to see that it's amazing, and I was happy for it ultimately. Yeah, I still play that game, and I will do an official playthrough and upload it, and then maybe I can give more of my thoughts then too.
Yeah, it just felt that Nintendo, at least back then when we were working on the project, we never felt that Nintendo really cared too much about the Metroid Prime games. Given that they weren't their $10 million, $20 million hitters. So just naturally the assumption was, hey, like they're never gonna do this. Let's do a remaster ourselves. People really do want to see this game. Which is why it really took us by shock when it was a Shadow Drop.
Right.
Because there was no warning, nothing beforehand. We thought the leaks were all bogus because we had been hearing this for the last 3 years. Nintendo's working on a Metroid Prime Remaster. I still remember going all the way back to 2015 or something. I don't remember if it was 2015, but there was a whole video of Reggie Fils-Aimé shouting on the streets at one point that, this is Metroid Prime's 15th anniversary or something like that. I'm like, why would you announce that, first of all, right? The remaster didn't happen in reality for the next 8 years after.
Right.
So just the whole thing just led us to believe that this thing was something that was never gonna happen, and when it did, it was like a shock. It was like Half-Life 3 levels of it actually exists. It's like a myth turned reality, and that's basically what it's been.
Well, they did that with Dread too, right? It was just out of nowhere, and I appreciate it though. I really do. I feel like as a Metroid fan, we've been satiated after a big drought. We got some big hitters, and it was awesome to get them.
A bittersweet ending, you can say.
On that note, this is why I'll speak for myself. I'm a bit hesitant on doing another Metroid Prime 2 Echoes remastered, because for those same reasons, I don't want to both celebrate and be at my mother's funeral.
Yeah.
If Shadow Drop or Metroid Prime 2 gets Shadow Drop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, we're just kind of exaggerating the feelings. I think it's just the fact that we had so much momentum, even in the, I would say, mainstream media. Well, probably not super mainstream, but at least when it came to games journalism, we were getting a lot of coverage about our project. And I can see with this remaster coming, there's also the other aspects that kind of hold us back, all the legal stuff that you kind of have to deal with. Fortunately, we didn't have to go through any of that stuff while we were making our project, because we were very specific on it just being a mod. But even so, I could imagine. I want more people to be exposed to Metroid, and I think like the best thing to do is to support the franchise. So it's a really weird area that I'm basically describing. Where on one hand, it would be sick to do Echoes, because for me, Echoes is my favorite of the 3 games in the Prime trilogy, and on top of that, it's super well developed as a video game. Like the developers really learned a lot from the first game and applied their knowledge and wisdom into the second game, and it's just such a well-made game that I can't imagine us not having fun doing it. But it's one of those things where we're just gonna have to wait and see what Nintendo does. And with Prime 4 around the horizon, I don't know. It's so much uncertainty. Yeah, but I don't know. How do you feel about it, Jason? Since you really wanted to do Prime 2 after Prime 1.
Well, I mean, you can't really ever put a finger on what Nintendo's going to do, because all normal conventions would tell you, hey, the smartest thing to do would be to release whatever you're going to do, if it's just going to be HD ports or if it's a remaster, have them done and released before Prime 4 comes out. But, Nintendo might not do that. They might release 4 and then decide, hey, yeah, 2 and 3 are being redone and here they come. So I just think ultimately it boils down to why you do things. Like if it's just for buzz and being, getting our name out there, sometimes I think there's better ways to do that. I think, we ultimately it is definitely because we all love Metroid so much, but then I start thinking about the amount of effort that it would take to go back into doing this again, and then I start thinking more about doing our own thing. Just because, and which we'll talk more about here soon too. It just is so much investment to put into something that ultimately all you'll ever get out of it is those, coverages by the gaming journalism and stuff like that. That's all you're gonna get out of it. That could, if you can leverage that, you can turn that into something. Maybe that recognition can get you further in your career, whatever it is you're doing along those lines. But everyone has their own, their own deep-rooted motivations. And so for me, it's always, I'll do it regardless. I'll do it if it's to make money or if it's for free or whatever. Those are usually the best chance of doing something with something is usually when you have that mindset, because your motivations are always pretty straightforward. It's, you're not depending on other people to motivate you. You want to do this, you're going to push this and do as much as you can with it. And I think I do want to I see myself doing that again, maybe, leading another project, but I want it to be probably our own project.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I would definitely like to discuss, just the amount of help that we had from other communities while making MPR. Like, we couldn't have been more thankful for guys like Antidote and the Metaphors team for developing the Heckle tool, which allowed us to bake like really cool quality lighting using Blender cycles of all things.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just looked phenomenal. I still remember back when we first tried to bake lights, and I had a GTX 1080 back then. It was something that would take like 2 days to bake, and there were times when the whole thing would crash and then you would have to start over.
Yeah.
and then wait for another 2 days, especially when we were trying to bake them at the 4K resolution for some of the bigger rooms.
Oh
right?
Man, yeah.
those were some insane times. Then thankfully, once we did get our RTX cards, I got an RTX 3090. I still have that system. It's still my current daily driver. That's when we could really start churning out light maps, which is why a lot of the rooms that you see in the Orpheon look so much better in terms of just lighting, was because of the tools that were developed by the Metaphors team, that being Antidote and the rest. But just absolutely hats off to those guys for making that tool, because that really added so much to the whole process. And in turn, it actually gave me a pretty solid lesson in Blender's lighting system and also baked lighting, which is something that I've always not particularly enjoyed doing because of how long it normally takes to bake lights. But doing this in Blender with fully path traced and bounce lighting and all that stuff, it was really something awesome at the end. Like, I learned a lot out of it, you know, and just that level of collaboration that was there with other Metroid modding teams was fantastic. The other team that really helped us out, obviously, were Shio and Sir Mangler, who came over from Primehack. And Primehack, I would say today, is still the definitive way for playing the Prime Trilogy games on your device, and it works so wonderfully on something like a Steam Deck. Like our project, like the whole remaster and stuff, good and all, but you couldn't run it on most devices. It would only run on Windows. But just the amount of work that was put into Primehack as well, another fantastic mod. If you haven't checked it out, I strongly recommend using it because it just plays so well. Like it feels like a native port at the end of the day. Like a native PC port.
Both of those,
or a Steam Deck port.
Once both of those were implemented completely into the MPR, it definitely took everything to another level. Because first it was Primehack, and that was just, once we had that, it was, you know, it was awesome. But then with the lighting and being able to bake the lights, it completely took the whole project to another level. Because like you said, the lights just went somewhere we never, I think, envisioned. And that's another thing that I think about the project as a whole, is how many things I didn't, I guess we thought at the beginning we would be able to accomplish these things, but then to actually be able to do it and see how much work it took from all of these people. And it's still one of the greatest accomplishments I think I've been a part of in a creative space. And it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very grateful for everyone's efforts in the team. We even had Chozo Labs or Noah working on some server-side stuff, and he made like dedicated servers for us to store our project and everything.
Right.
So that also was really helpful.
We started in 2018, right? And it was 2 years of developing the tool set and the workflow. And then, so it was a lot of like early, textures and early things before we even bothered with material maps, because we didn't even know if we're going to be able to do anything with that until Tino came with
force lighting.
Yeah. That changed everything at that point too. So we had a lot of milestones, man. That's what's really impressive to me too, is just how many milestones we actually have thinking about, all these things that were first time evers, and it was like several of them.
Starting all the way back in 2017 with those janky reshade presets.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
with the excessive bloom and contrast.
Yeah. All the footage was orange.
And it would make your eyes singe by today's standard.
And somehow people liked it at the time.
Yeah. Wow. Strangely enough, it got enough of an attention. It made us want to do some real stuff at the end.
Yeah. Yeah,
all right.
That's awesome.
Now that Sardines is back, let's get back to the topic. So keeping on track with the official stuff, so we just talked about it, what we thought about the official release. What do you guys think about the Prime 4 trailer that came out recently, about a couple of months ago?